Kim Do-hyun stood in the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, watching the massive alien ship through the window. The Starlight Sovereign was unlike anything humans had ever built. It stretched for miles, its surface covered in strange patterns that seemed to glow and shift. He had been staring at it for 10 minutes, trying to calm his nerves. He was 28 years old and worked as a junior diplomat. This was his first big assignment. The Velkari people wanted to make a trade deal with Earth. If everything went well, humans would get technology that could change everything. Better ships, better medicine, better energy systems. But if things went wrong, Earth would be alone in the galaxy. Do-hyun's job was simple. He was supposed to help with translations and make sure nobody said anything offensive by accident. The Velkari were very different from humans. They looked like tall reptiles that walked on 2 legs. Their skin had scales that changed color with their moods. They also had special mental powers that humans didn't understand very well. Ambassador Park Min-ho walked up beside him. Park was 50 years old and had been a diplomat for most of his life. He looked tired and worried. "The meeting starts in 30 minutes, Park said. "Remember, don't speak unless someone asks you a direct question." "The Velkari Queen doesn't like interruptions," Do-hyun nodded. He had studied everything he could about Velkari culture. He knew their language, their customs, and their history. He was ready. Or at least he thought he was. The meeting room inside the Velkari ship was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Do-hyun couldn't see the top. The walls glowed with a soft blue light. Everything felt heavy and important. Queen Lyraveth sat on a raised platform at the far end of the room. She was tall, even for a Velkari. Her scales were a deep purple color and her eyes were bright gold. She wore long, flowing robes that seemed to move on their own. Around her stood other Velkari officials and guards. They all watched the humans with expressions that were hard to read. The meeting began. Ambassador Park talked about trade routes and technology exchanges. The Queen listened carefully and asked questions. Everything seemed to be going well. Do-hyun sat in the back with the other junior staff taking notes and staying quiet. Then everything changed. A sound came from somewhere deeper in the ship. It started soft but quickly grew louder. It was a baby crying, but this wasn't a normal cry. The sound made the air feel wrong. The lights flickered. Do-hyun felt pressure in his head, like someone was pushing on his skull from the inside. The Velkari in the room all tensed up. Some of them grabbed their heads. The Queen stood up quickly, her calm expression replaced by something Do-hyun had never seen in any of the research materials. She looked scared. A Velkari woman rushed into the room carrying a small bundle. The crying got even louder. Now Do-hyun could see distortions in the air like heat waves. Some of the equipment in the room started making strange noises. "Princess Saranan," the Queen said, her voice tight. She took the bundle from the woman. Inside was a tiny Velkari baby. Her scales were light green and her eyes were squeezed shut as she cried. The Queen tried to comfort the baby, but nothing worked. She rocked her gently, made soft sounds, but the crying continued. The other Velkari tried to help, but they all seemed to make it worse. Each time someone touched the baby, she cried harder. Do-hyun watched closely. He noticed something. The baby wasn't just crying because she was upset. She was reacting to everyone around her. Every time the Velkari got anxious, the baby got more agitated. It was like she could feel their emotions. The Queen looked at the human delegation. Her face was desperate now. "This meeting cannot continue," she said. "My daughter has been like this for 3 days. Nothing we do helps. Our healers are exhausted. If someone cannot calm her within the hour, I must end these talks. I cannot focus while she suffers." Ambassador Park looked panicked. The other human diplomats whispered to each other urgently. 3 months of preparation were about to fall apart because of a crying baby. Do-hyun stood up before he could think about it. Everyone turned to look at him. Ambassador Park's eyes went wide. "Your Majesty," Do-hyun said, his voice steadier than he felt. "May I try?" The room went completely silent except for the baby's cries. The Queen stared at him. So did every other Velkari in the room. Ambassador Park looked like he wanted to pull Do-hyun back to his seat. "You?" The Queen's voice carried disbelief. "You are human. You have no psionic abilities. How could you possibly help when my own people cannot?" Do-hyun took a breath. He had a younger sister back on Earth. When she was a baby, he used to help take care of her when their parents were working. He remembered the tricks his grandmother taught him. "Maybe that's exactly why I can help," he said. "She's reacting to everyone's emotions. but I can't feel her emotions the way your people can. Maybe that's what she needs right now. Someone who isn't adding to the noise. The Queen looked at him for a long moment. A Velkari guard, a tall male with dark blue scales, stepped forward. Commander Nalketh, the Queen said, holding up a hand to stop him. She looked back at Do-hyun. Touching royal family members is forbidden in our culture. It is a serious offense. I understand, Do-hyun said, but sometimes rules need to bend when a child is suffering. The Queen's scales shifted to a lighter shade. It took Do-hyun a moment to realize what that meant. She was surprised, maybe even impressed by his boldness. Very well, she said finally. But know this, human. If you cause my daughter any harm, it will not matter what treaties we were considering. Do you understand? I understand, Do-hyun said. He walked forward. His legs felt shaky, but he kept going. The Queen held out her daughter. Up close, Do-hyun could see that the baby looked exhausted. Her crying was hoarse now, like she had been doing it for so long that her throat hurt. Do-hyun took the baby carefully. She was lighter than he expected and warm. For a second, she cried even louder, and he felt that pressure in his head again. But then something changed. He held her close and started humming. It was an old song his grandmother used to sing, a simple melody that didn't need words. He rocked slowly, keeping his movements gentle and steady. The baby's crying started to quiet, just a little bit at first. Do-hyun kept humming, blocking out everything else in the room. He thought about his sister, about quiet evenings at home, about peace and safety. He wasn't trying to project these feelings. He didn't have mental powers. He was just being present with the child. The crying got softer. The pressure in the air began to fade. The light stopped flickering. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The baby's cries turned to small hiccups and whimpers. Do-hyun continued humming, his voice low and steady. After 15 minutes, Princess Saranin was quiet. Her eyes were still closed, but her breathing was steady. She made a small sound, almost content, and curled up against Do-hyun's chest. The room was completely silent. Every Velkari was staring at Do-hyun with expressions of shock. The Queen's scales had turned a bright silver color that Do-hyun didn't recognize from his studies. Ambassador Park looked like he might faint. The Queen walked toward Do-hyun slowly. She looked down at her daughter, now peaceful and sleeping. When she looked back up at Do-hyun, there were tears in her golden eyes. Impossible, she whispered. Then louder to the whole room. By the ancient law of soul bond, this human has achieved what none of my people could. He has calmed the crown princess when all others failed. She turned to face everyone in the room, her voice formal now. The law states that such a bond can only be honored in one way, through the joining of houses. She looked directly at Do-hyun. I offer you marriage, Kim Do-hyun of Earth. Join with me, and together we will build a bridge between our peoples. Do-hyun's mind went blank. The baby in his arms made a small sound. He looked down at her, then back at the Queen, then at Ambassador Park, who had turned completely white. He tried to speak, but no words came out. The Queen of the most powerful alien race in the known galaxy had just proposed marriage to him, and he was completely, totally speechless. The room stayed silent for what felt like forever. Do-hyun stood there holding the sleeping baby, trying to understand what had just happened. The Queen of an alien empire had asked him to marry her, in front of everyone, including his boss, and he still could not find any words. Ambassador Park recovered first. He stepped forward quickly, bowing low to the Queen. Your Majesty, Park said, his voice shaking slightly. This is a great honor, but perhaps we should discuss the details in private. This is a significant matter for both our peoples. Queen Lyraveth looked at Ambassador Park with a calm expression. Her scales had returned to their deep purple color. There is nothing to discuss in secret, she said. The law of soul bond is clear. When the crown princess accepts someone so completely, when someone can bring her peace where others cannot, it reveals a connection beyond words. In our culture, this is sacred. She looked at Do-hyun again. Her golden eyes were intense but not unkind. However, I understand this is unexpected. You may have 7 days to consider my offer. During this time, we will spend time together so you can learn our ways. At the end of 7 days, you will give me your answer. Do-hyun finally found his voice. It came out quieter than he intended. 7 days, he repeated. Yes, it is tradition. The Queen held out her arms. May I have my daughter back? Do-hyun carefully transferred the sleeping baby. As he did, his hand briefly touched the Queen's. Her skin was warm and surprisingly soft despite the scales. She looked down at her daughter with such love and relief that Do-hyun felt something twist in his chest. The queen called for a nursemaid, a gentle-looking Valkyrie female with light green scales. The woman took Princess Saran carefully and left the room. "This meeting is ended," the queen announced. "We will reconvene tomorrow to discuss the details of the trade agreement. For now, everyone needs time to process what has happened here." As the Valkyrie officials filed out, Do-hyun noticed their expressions. Some looked pleased. Others looked worried or even angry. Commander Nalketh, the blue-scaled guard, stared at Do-hyun with obvious suspicion before leaving. Ambassador Park grabbed Do-hyun's arm the moment they were back in the human quarters. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" Park demanded. But he did not sound entirely angry. His eyes were wide with something like excitement. "The Queen of the Valkyrie Empire just proposed to you. This could change everything. The alliance, the technology transfers, Earth's entire position in galactic politics. I was just trying to help the baby," Do-hyun said weakly. A younger diplomat named Lee Hajin came over. He was about Do-hyun's age and had become a friend during the mission preparation. "Are you okay?" Hajin asked. "You look like you might pass out." "I might," Do-hyun admitted. Ambassador Park paced back and forth. He was already on his communication device, talking rapidly to someone on Earth. From what Do-hyun could hear, the governments were as shocked as everyone else. Hajin led Do-hyun to a quiet corner and made him sit down. "Talk to me," Hajin said. "What are you thinking?" "I do not know what I am thinking," Do-hyun said honestly. "This morning I was a junior diplomat. Now the alien queen wants to marry me. How did this happen?" "You helped her baby when nobody else could," Hajin said. "And apparently that means something really important in their culture." Do-hyun put his head in his hands. He thought about his family back on Earth. His mother, his younger sister Mina. What would they think about all this? Would they even believe it? The next morning, a Valkyrie attendant arrived at the human quarters. She was young, with pale yellow scales, and she seemed nervous. "Kim Do-hyun?" she asked in careful English. "The Queen requests your presence. It is time to begin your learning period." Do-hyun followed her through the massive ship. They walked through corridors that changed colors as they moved, past windows that showed the stars and the distant Earth below. Finally, they reached a room that was smaller and more comfortable than the formal meeting chamber. Queen Lyraveth was there, but she looked different. She wore simpler clothing and her posture was more relaxed. Without all the formal trappings, she seemed younger, more approachable. "Please sit," she said, gesturing to a low chair that had clearly been brought in for human use. "Would you like something to drink?" Do-hyun sat carefully. Everything still felt surreal. Water would be good. "Thank you." The queen poured water from a crystal container. Her movements were graceful and precise. She handed him the glass and sat across from him. "I imagine you have many questions," she said. "Yes," Do-hyun said. Then, gathering courage, he added, "Your Majesty, why did you really offer marriage? Is it truly just because of an old law?" The queen's scales shifted to a softer shade. She seemed to consider her words carefully. "The law is real," she said, "but you are right to ask. The truth is more complicated," she paused. "Valkyrie people are psionic. We feel emotions, not just our own, but others around us. It is a gift, but also a burden. My daughter Saranin has very strong abilities for one so young. When she cries, she broadcasts her distress to everyone nearby. That is why everyone seemed so affected," Do-hyun said. "Yes. And because we are all psionic, we cannot help but respond. Our emotions feed into hers, making everything worse. It becomes a cycle we cannot break." The queen looked at him directly. "But you are different. You have no psionic ability at all. When you held my daughter, I felt something I have not felt in a very long time." "What did you feel?" "Silence. Peace. Like standing in a calm place after a storm." The queen's voice became quieter. "My life is filled with noise, Do-hyun. Thousands of minds touching mine constantly. As queen, I must be strong always. I must feel everything and show nothing. It is exhausting." Do-hyun began to understand. The queen was not just a ruler. She was a person who carried an enormous weight, and she was tired. "My husband died 6 months ago," she continued. "King Talavek was killed in a border conflict. I was pregnant with Saranin at the time. I have been ruling alone, raising her alone, grieving alone. And every moment I feel the emotions of everyone around me." "I am sorry," Do-hyun said softly. "Thank you." The The queen looked away. When you held my daughter yesterday, I felt your mind. Or rather, I did not feel it. You were just there, present, calm. It was like being able to breathe for the first time in months, and Saranin felt it too. That is why she calmed down. They sat in silence for a moment. Do-hyun sipped his water, thinking about everything she had said. So you offered marriage because I make things quiet for you, he said. Partly, but also because my daughter needs a father, someone who can be there for her without being overwhelmed by her abilities and... The queen hesitated. Because I saw something in you. The way you stepped forward without hesitation to help a child in distress. The way you spoke about bending rules when a child is suffering. That kind of compassion is rare even among my own people. Do-hyun felt his face getting warm. He was not used to being praised like this. I have 7 days to decide, he said. Yes. During this time I would like you to spend time with me. Learn about our culture. See if you could imagine a life here. I will not force you to accept. If you decide this is not what you want, I will honor that choice. And if I say no, what happens to the alliance? The queen smiled slightly. It was a sad smile. The alliance will continue either way. I will not let politics force your hand. That would make me no better than those who believe in power over choice. Before Do-hyun could respond, there was a soft sound from another room. The baby was waking up. The queen stood quickly. Do-hyun could see tension return to her body. She will start crying soon, the queen said, worry clear in her voice. May I? Do-hyun asked, standing up. The queen looked surprised, then grateful. She nodded and led him to the nursery. Princess Saranin was in a small bed that floated gently in the air. When she saw Do-hyun, her crying stopped before it really started. Her big eyes focused on him, and she made a small, happy sound. Do-hyun picked her up carefully. She was so light, so fragile. He started humming that same old song from yesterday. The queen watched them. When Do-hyun looked at her, he saw something new in her expression. Hope. Real, genuine hope. And in that moment, Do-hyun realized that whatever decision he made in 7 days would change his life forever. News of the queen's proposal spread across the galaxy faster than light travel. Within hours, every major news network on Earth was talking about it. People gathered in city centers to watch the footage of Do-hyun calming the baby. Some celebrated. Others protested. Back on the Valkyrie ship, Do-hyun spent his second day learning about their culture. The queen showed him their art, which was based on mathematical patterns and energy flows. She explained their religion, their government, their technology. Everything was fascinating but also overwhelming. In the afternoon, Lady Shiranel visited him. She was an older Valkyrie woman with dark red scales and kind eyes. She served as one of the queen's closest advisors. I wanted to speak with you privately, she said, settling into a chair across from Do-hyun. To help you understand what is really happening here. I would appreciate that, Do-hyun said honestly. Everything feels very complicated. It is complicated. Not everyone is happy about the queen's decision. High Noble Renthor leads a faction that believes humans are too primitive to join with Valkyrie royalty. They see this as an insult to our traditions, and what do you think? Do-hyun asked. Lady Shiranel smiled. Her scales shifted to a warm orange color. I think the queen has not been this hopeful in months. I think her daughter laughs when you are near. I think that matters more than tradition. She leaned forward. But I want you to know what you would be choosing if you accept. It will not be easy. You will face opposition. There will be those who never accept you. And the responsibilities of being prince consort are enormous. Prince consort, Do-hyun repeated. The title felt strange in his mouth, yes. You would help rule an empire of billions. You would be father to the future queen. Your decisions would affect countless lives. Do-hyun felt the weight of those words. He had been a junior diplomat. Now he might become royalty. That night, Do-hyun called his family on Earth. The communication delay made conversation awkward, but he needed to hear their voices. His mother appeared on the screen. She looked tired and worried. Behind her, he could see his younger sister, Mina. Do-hyun. Are you okay? The reporters will not leave us alone. They keep asking questions about you. I am sorry, Mom. I never meant to bring this trouble to you. Do not apologize. Tell me the truth. Are they forcing you to do this? No, the queen said I can choose. But he paused. I do not know what to choose. This is bigger than anything I imagined. Mina pushed closer to the screen. She was 22 and studying to be a teacher. Do-hyun, do you like her? The queen, I mean. The question caught him off guard. Did he like her? He thought about their conversations, the way she talked about her daughter, the sadness he saw when she mentioned her late husband. Yes, he said slowly. I think I do. She is strong and intelligent, but also kind and very tired, Mina smiled. Then maybe you should follow your heart instead of your head for once. On the fourth day, something terrible happened. Do-hyun was having dinner with the queen and several Valkyrie nobles. Commander Nalketh was there, still watching Do-hyun with suspicious eyes. High Noble Renthor sat at the far end of the table, barely hiding his displeasure. Princess Saranen was in her floating cradle nearby. Do-hyun had spent an hour playing with her before dinner, and she was happy and calm. A server placed a glass of blue liquid in front of Do-hyun. It was a Valkyrie drink that he had tried before and enjoyed. He reached for it. Suddenly, Princess Saranen began crying. Not her usual fussy cry, but a sharp, urgent sound. Her scales flashed bright red, a color Do-hyun had never seen before. Everyone turned to look at the baby. The queen stood up quickly, but Saranen's eyes were fixed on Do-hyun, more specifically on the glass in his hand. Do-hyun froze. The baby's distress felt different this time, more focused, like she was trying to tell him something. He set the glass down carefully. Immediately, Saranen stopped crying. Her scales faded back to their normal green. Commander Nalketh moved fast. He grabbed the glass and sniffed it carefully. His scales turned dark blue, a sign of alarm. Poison, he said grimly. Not enough to kill, but enough to make him very sick. The room erupted into chaos. Guards appeared from everywhere. The queen's scales flashed through several colors before settling on a deep, angry red. Find who did this, she commanded. Her voice was cold and terrible. Now. It took less than an hour to find the guilty party. A kitchen worker had been bribed to add the poison to Do-hyun's drink. Under interrogation, the worker revealed who had paid him. High Noble Renthor tried to deny it at first. But the evidence was clear. He had not acted alone. 3 other nobles were part of the plot. Do-hyun sat in the queen's private chambers while all this was happening. He held Princess Saranen, who refused to let anyone else hold her. She kept making small, worried sounds and touching his face with her tiny hands. She saved my life, Do-hyun said softly. A baby saved my life. Lady Shiranel, who was staying with them, nodded. Valkyrie infants have strong instincts. They can sense danger even if they do not understand it. She knew something was wrong with that drink. When the queen returned, she looked exhausted but also furious. She dismissed everyone except Do-hyun and sat down heavily. Renthor and his conspirators have been arrested, she said. They will be tried and punished according to our law. Why did they do it? Do-hyun asked. Because they feared change. Because they could not accept that a human might have value. She looked at him intently. But there is more. We discovered that Renthor was working with the Kryn Collective. They are another powerful species. They do not want Earth and the Valkyrie to become allies. If they can break this bond between us, they can keep both our peoples weak. Do-hyun felt cold. This was not just about him and the queen anymore. It was about galactic politics and power. I need to tell you something, the queen said. She reached out and gently touched his hand. Her scales were soft and warm. You do not have to accept my proposal. But know this, whether you choose yes or no, you have already changed things. My people see that a human saved me and my daughter, that a human showed compassion when it mattered most. That means something. And your daughter saved me back, Do-hyun said. He looked down at Saranen, who had fallen asleep in his arms. I think we are even, the queen smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen from her. Perhaps we are, she said softly. Later that night, Do-hyun stood alone in his quarters. He had 3 days left to decide. The assassination attempt should have scared him away. Instead, it made him angry. Someone had tried to hurt him just because he was human, just because he had shown kindness to a child. He thought about Princess Saranen and how she had warned him. He thought about the queen's tired eyes and her hope for peace. He thought about Earth and the Valkyrie and building something new. And slowly, in his heart, he began to know what his answer would be. The 5th day arrived with beautiful timing. Do-hyun woke up early and found a message waiting for him. The queen invited him to join her for breakfast in the royal gardens. The gardens were unlike anything on Earth. Plants with crystal leaves grew next to flowers that glowed softly. The air smelled sweet and fresh. At the center was a small table set for two. Queen Lyraveth was already there feeding Princess Saranin. The baby saw Do-hyun and immediately reached for him, making excited sounds. "Good morning," the queen said. She handed Saranin to him with a smile. "She has been asking for you since she woke up." "Asking?" Do-hyun settled the baby in his arms, in her way. "She keeps broadcasting feelings of happiness mixed with your presence. It is the closest thing to asking that an infant can do." They ate breakfast together. The queen had arranged for human food to be prepared alongside Velkari dishes. It was thoughtful and made Do-hyun feel more comfortable. "Tell me about your home," the queen said. "About Earth and your family." Do-hyun talked about growing up in a small city, about his parents working hard to give him and his sister opportunities. He talked about his grandmother who raised him while his parents worked, and how she taught him the old songs. "The lullaby you sing to Saranin, that was from your grandmother?" "Yes, she used to sing it to me when I could not sleep. She said music connects people across time and space." The queen listened carefully. She was different here in the gardens. More relaxed, more herself. Her scales shifted through soft colors as they talked. "What was your husband like?" Do-hyun asked carefully. He wanted to understand her better. The queen's expression grew sad but not pained. "Telvek was brave and kind. He believed that the Velkari should reach out to other species. That isolation made us weak. He died defending a trade convoy from pirates." She looked at Saranin. "He never got to meet his daughter. I am sorry, thank you." She reached across the table and touched Do-hyun's hand. "You remind me of him in some ways. Not in appearance, obviously, but in your kindness, in the way you think of others first." Later that day, the queen showed Do-hyun the royal archives. Thousands of years of history stored in crystal data cores. She explained how Velkari society worked, how decisions were made, how the noble houses balanced power. "If you accept my proposal, you would have a voice in all of this," she said. "Your opinion would matter. Your ideas could shape policy." "That is terrifying," Do-hyun admitted. The queen laughed. It was the first time he had heard her laugh. The sound was musical and warm. "It should be terrifying. Anyone who wants power without fear is dangerous." She became more serious. "But I think you would be good at it. You see things differently than we do. That perspective is valuable." On the 6th day, Commander Nalketh requested to speak with Do-hyun privately. The meeting was tense at first. The commander had made his distrust clear. They met in a training room. Nalketh was practicing with a weapon that looked like a staff but hummed with energy. "I wanted to apologize," the commander said bluntly. "I judged you unfairly. You are not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone weak. Someone looking for power or glory." He set down his weapon. "Instead, you risked your life to help a child. And when my people tried to kill you, you did not run away or demand revenge. You just kept caring for the princess." "She saved me first," Do-hyun said. "It seemed only fair." Nalketh's scales shifted to a lighter blue. "That is exactly what I mean. Most beings would see it as a debt owed. You see it as friendship." He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "If you become prince consort, I will be honored to serve you." That night, Do-hyun called Lee Ha-jin for advice. His friend appeared on screen looking tired but excited. "Tomorrow is the day," Ha-jin said. "Have you decided?" "I think so. But I am scared. That is normal. This is the biggest decision of your life. What if I am not good enough? What if I fail her?" "Fail all of them?" Ha-jin smiled. "Do-hyun, you calmed an alien baby when nobody else could. You survived an assassination attempt and forgave the people who tried to kill you. You made a suspicious military commander respect you. I think you are more capable than you believe." Do-hyun spent his last evening before the decision with Princess Saranin. He played with her in the nursery, building towers with soft blocks that floated in the air. She laughed and knocked them down, her scales bright with happiness. The queen watched from the doorway. When Saranin finally fell asleep, she came and sat beside Do-hyun. "Tomorrow you will give me your answer," she said quietly. "Whatever you choose, I want you to know something. You have given my daughter joy. You have given me hope. Those are gifts I can never repay. You gave me a chance to matter," Do-hyun said. "To be more than I thought I could be." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the baby sleep. Do-hyun felt something settle in his chest. A certainty he had been moving toward all week. He knew what his answer would be. The 7th day arrived too quickly. The entire ship seemed to hold its breath. Everyone knew that today Do-hyun would give his answer. The formal chamber was filled again. Human diplomats stood on one side, Velkari nobles on the other. News crews from dozens of planets broadcasted the event across the galaxy. Do-hyun wore formal clothes that the Queen's staff had prepared for him. They were a blend of human and Velkari styles, symbolic in a way he deeply appreciated. Queen Lyra-Veth entered carrying Princess Seranin. The baby was dressed in royal garments, tiny but dignified. When she saw Do-hyun, she reached for him immediately, making happy sounds. The Queen smiled and brought her daughter over. She handed Seranin to Do-hyun before taking her place on the throne. The symbolism was clear to everyone watching. Kim Do-hyun of Earth, the Queen said formally. 7 days ago, I invoked the law of soul bond. You calmed my daughter when none other could. You showed compassion, courage, and wisdom. Now the time has come for your answer. Will you accept the bond I offer? Will you join your house with mine? Do-hyun looked at the baby in his arms. She grabbed his finger and smiled at him. He looked at the Queen, who watched him with hope and fear mixed in her golden eyes. Then he looked at all the people watching. Humans and Velkari, all waiting to hear what he would say. 7 days ago, I was a junior diplomat, Do-hyun began. His voice was steady despite his nerves. I came here to help with trade negotiations. I never imagined I would be standing here, holding a princess being asked to join an alien royal family. He paused, gathering his thoughts. During these 7 days, I learned many things. I learned that Velkari culture is rich and complex. I learned that your people value strength but also wisdom. I learned that being different does not mean being incompatible. Princess Seranin made a soft sound. Do-hyun gently rocked her. I also learned about myself. I learned that I am braver than I thought, that I can adapt to situations I never imagined, that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply be present for someone who needs you. The Queen leaned forward slightly in her throne. Your Majesty, you offered me a bond of the soul. You explained that this was about more than politics. It was about finding someone who could share your burden, someone who could bring peace to your life and joy to your daughter's life. He looked directly at her. During these 7 days, I have come to know you, not just as a queen but as a person who carries enormous responsibility, a person who lost someone she loved, a person who works hard to be strong for everyone else even when she is tired. The Queen's scales began to shift colors, a sign of deep emotion. I have seen your kindness, your intelligence, your dedication to your people and your daughter. I have seen how much you care, even when showing emotion is considered weakness in your culture. Do-hyun took a breath. And this little one, he said, looking down at Seranin. She has no prejudice, no agenda. She just knows that I make her feel safe. In return, she saved my life. That is not a small thing. He looked back at the Queen. So my answer is yes. I accept the bond you offer. Not because of politics or duty, though those things matter. I accept because I have seen who you are. Because I want to help you carry your burden. Because I want to be there for Seranin as she grows. Because I think we can build something good together. The chamber erupted. Humans cheered. Most Velkari made sounds of approval, their scales shifting to warm colors. A few looked unhappy, but they were the minority now. The Queen stood. Her scales had turned a brilliant silver gold, a color that apparently meant profound joy. She walked down from her throne with tears in her eyes. You honor me, she said softly. You honor my house and my people, and you honor me by asking, Do-hyun replied. The bonding ceremony was scheduled for that evening. The Queen's staff moved with incredible efficiency to prepare everything. Do-hyun was taken to private chambers where Velkari attendants helped him prepare. They explained each part of the ceremony, what it meant, what he needed to do. Lee Ha-jin was allowed to attend as Do-hyun's witness. His friend looked overwhelmed but excited. You are really doing this, Ha-jin said. You are marrying an alien queen, I am, Do-hyun said. It still felt unreal. How do you feel? Terrified. Excited. Like I am standing on the edge of something huge. That is because you are. Ha-jin gripped his shoulder. But I believe in you. We all do. The ceremony took place in a grand hall that had been decorated with both Velkari energy patterns and earth flowers. The blend of cultures was beautiful. The Queen wore elaborate robes that seemed to be made of light itself. Princess Seranin was with her, calm and happy. A Velkari elder led the ceremony. He spoke in the old language, then in English, explaining the significance of the soul bond. This was not just a marriage. It was a joining of minds, hearts, and purposes. Do-hyun and Lyra-Veth stood facing each other. She placed her hands on either side of his face. This was the psionic binding where she would open a connection between them. This may feel strange, she warned quietly. But I will be gentle. Do-hyun felt something brush against his thoughts. It was warm and careful, like a soft touch on his mind. He felt her emotions, not overwhelming but clear. Her hope, her nervousness, her growing affection for him. And somehow, even though he had no psionic ability, he sent feelings back to her, comfort, support, a promise to be there. The Queen's eyes widened in surprise and delight. They exchanged vows in both languages. They wore symbols of the bond, delicate bands that fit around their wrists and glowed with soft light. Princess Saranin, with help from the elder, placed a small crown on Do-hyun's head. It was symbolic, making him officially part of the royal family. Then came the human touches. Do-hyun had asked to include some earth traditions. He sang the lullaby that had started everything, his voice clear in the quiet hall. The Queen's eyes filled with tears. Finally, the elder declared them bonded, husband and wife. King, consort, and queen. The hall erupted in celebration. Music played, a blend of Valkyrie harmonics and human melodies. Do-hyun and Lyra-Veth held Princess Saranin between them. The baby looked at both of them and made a sound that was pure contentment. For the first time since her husband died, Queen Lyra-Veth looked truly at peace, and Do-hyun, the junior diplomat who just wanted to help a crying baby, had become something he never imagined. A bridge between worlds, a father to a princess, a partner to a queen. The ceremony ended with a private moment. Just Do-hyun, Lyra-Veth, and Saranin in a quiet room. "Thank you," Lyra-Veth said softly, "for taking this chance, for choosing us." "Thank you for asking," Do-hyun replied, "for seeing value in a human diplomat." She laughed softly. "You are so much more than that now." Saranin fell asleep between them, peaceful and safe. Outside, two civilizations celebrated a new alliance, but in this moment it was just a family, beginning their journey together. 3 months passed. Life had changed in ways Do-hyun could never have imagined. He woke each morning in quarters that were now truly his home. The rooms had been redesigned to blend Valkyrie and human aesthetics. There were windows showing the stars, plants from both worlds, and furniture that accommodated both species. Lyra-Veth was usually awake before him, already working on the day's responsibilities. Being queen never stopped, but now she had someone to share morning tea with, someone who could sit quietly beside her and ease the constant pressure of her duties. "Good morning," she said as he entered her study. She had started greeting him in Korean, learning his language just as he continued improving his Valkyrie. "Good morning," he replied, kissing her forehead. It had taken time to learn the affectionate gestures that were appropriate in Valkyrie culture, but he was getting better. "How is the situation with the border patrol?" "Improving. Your suggestion about joint human Valkyrie patrols is being implemented." She smiled at him. "The commanders say it is working better than expected." Do-hyun had found his role as prince consort. He was not a military leader or a scientist. Instead, he became a bridge. He understood human thinking and was learning Valkyrie culture. He could see connections and solutions that others missed. A sound from the nursery made them both look up. Princess Saranin was awake. Do-hyun went to get her. At 9 months old, she had grown so much. Her scales were brighter, her eyes more aware. When she saw him, she reached up and said something that sounded remarkably like "Appa," the Korean word for father. He picked her up, his heart swelling. "Did you just say Appa?" Saranin giggled and patted his face. She had started doing this when she was happy. Lyra-Veth appeared in the doorway. "Did she speak?" "I think so." Do-hyun was grinning. His daughter had just said her first word. Lyra-Veth came over and they stood together with Saranin between them. A family, life was not always easy. Some Valkyrie nobles still questioned Do-hyun's place. There were formal dinners where he felt out of place, meetings where his suggestions were questioned because he was human. But Commander Nalkath had become a steady supporter. Lady Shiranel guided him through complex political situations. And Lyraveth stood beside him always, making it clear that he was her true partner. On Earth, the reaction was still mixed. Some saw the union as a triumph, proof that humans could stand equal with advanced alien species. Others worried about Earth becoming dependent on Velkari technology. But the alliance was working. Human engineers learned Velkari manufacturing techniques. Velkari scientists studied human computer technology and artificial intelligence. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges flourished. One afternoon, Do-hyun was in a meeting with human and Velkari officials discussing education programs. He proposed creating schools where children of both species could learn together. A Velkari noble objected. Our children are psionic. Human children are not. How can they possibly learn together effectively? Do-hyun stood up. He had learned to speak with authority when needed. That is exactly why they should learn together. Velkari children can learn that being different is not being less. Human children can learn to think in new ways. My daughter is psionic and I am not. Yet we understand each other perfectly well. The meeting ended with approval for a pilot program. It was a small victory, but it mattered. That evening, Do-hyun received a call from Earth. His mother and sister were coming to visit. When they arrived a week later, it was emotional for everyone. Do-hyun had not seen them in person since the bonding ceremony. His mother cried when she hugged him. You look good. Happy. I am happy, Mom. Really. Mina was excited to meet Saranin. The baby was shy at first, but Mina won her over with gentle play and silly faces. She is beautiful, Mina said, holding the princess carefully. She looks like she loves you so much. The feeling is very mutual, Do-hyun said. Lyraveth joined them for dinner. Do-hyun had been nervous about his family meeting his wife, but he should not have worried. Lyraveth was gracious and warm. She asked about their lives, their interests, their work. Your son has changed my life, Lyraveth told Do-hyun's mother. He brought light back into dark times. He has always been kind, his mother said. Even as a boy, he cared about others. She looked at Lyraveth. I can see that you care about him too. That is all a mother wants, I do. Very much after dinner, they all went to the royal gardens. Do-hyun had helped redesign part of it to include earth plants. There were roses and cherry trees, bamboo and jasmine. Saranin toddled around on unsteady legs, exploring. She had just learned to walk and wanted to practice constantly. Mina followed her, making sure she did not fall. Do-hyun stood with Lyraveth, watching his two families come together. I never imagined this, he said quietly. Any of this. Lyraveth took his hand. Her scales were warm under his fingers. Neither did I, but I am grateful for it. For you, they had challenges ahead. The Kryn Collective was still out there, still unhappy about the human-Velkari alliance. There were political problems to solve, cultural differences to navigate, responsibilities to uphold. But in this moment, watching his sister play with his daughter, seeing his mother laugh with his wife, Do-hyun felt something powerful, hope, real, lasting hope for the future. Princess Saranin ran over and grabbed his leg, demanding to be picked up. He lifted her easily and she wrapped her arms around his neck. Appa, she said clearly. Then reaching for Lyraveth. Lyraveth came closer and Saranin pulled them both together in a three-way hug. Do-hyun's mother took a picture. Later it would become famous across both worlds. A human man, a Velkari queen, and their daughter. A family that represented a new future. That night, after everyone else had gone to bed, Do-hyun and Lyraveth sat in their quarters. What are you thinking about? She asked. Everything. How strange and wonderful life is. How one decision changed everything. Do you regret it? Never, he looked at her. Not for a single moment. She rested her head on his shoulder. That mental connection they shared hummed softly with contentment. I love you, she said quietly. It still felt new, saying it in English. But she meant it deeply. Do-hyun felt warmth spread through his chest. He had come to love her too. Not suddenly, but gradually. Through shared quiet moments, through facing challenges together, through building a life. I love you too, he said. They sat in peaceful silence. Two people from different worlds who had found each other in the most unlikely way. And it was perfect. 6 months later, life had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Do-hyun woke to find Lyraveth already awake, reading reports on her data tablet. Saranin was asleep between them, having climbed into their bed during the night. Another early start? He asked sleepily. The council meeting is in 2 hours. I need to be prepared. She set down her tablet and smiled at him. But first, let me enjoy this moment. Saranin stirred and opened her eyes. When she saw both her parents, she smiled and made a happy sound. At 15 months old, she was talking more each day, mixing Korean, English, and Valkyrie words in ways that amused everyone. Appa, umma, up. Do-hyun picked her up and she giggled. They had morning routines now. Small, normal things that made their unusual life feel grounded. At breakfast, Lady Shiranel brought news. The first joint human Valkyrie school had opened on Earth. The pilot program was a success and 3 more schools were being planned. The images are wonderful, Shiranel said, showing them photos. Human and Valkyrie children playing together, learning together. No fear, no prejudice. Just curiosity and friendship. Lyraveth looked at the images with satisfaction. This is what we hoped for. She glanced at Do-hyun. What you hoped for? It is what everyone should hope for, he said. Later that day, Do-hyun had his own meeting. He had started a program to train diplomats from both species in cross-cultural communication. The first class was graduating, and he was giving a speech. Standing before the graduates, human and Valkyrie together, he thought about how far everything had come. 6 months ago, I stood in a formal chamber and made a choice that changed my life. But that choice did not just affect me. It affected all of you. It showed that different species can work together, live together, even love together. He looked at the eager faces watching him. You are the next generation of diplomats. You will build on what we have started. You will face challenges we cannot imagine yet. But remember this, compassion crosses all boundaries. Understanding is possible, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is reach out to someone different from yourself. The graduates applauded. Do-hyun saw humans and Valkyrie standing together, already forming friendships. That evening there was a special dinner. Earth's president was visiting the ship for the first time. It was a historic moment, solidifying the alliance between worlds. Do-hyun and Lyraveth greeted the president together. Saranin was there too, dressed in a small formal outfit that made her look adorable. President Kwan was a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a warm smile. She bowed to Lyraveth and then turned to Do-hyun, Prince Consort Kim. You have made Earth proud. I am just trying to help, Madam President. You are doing much more than that. You are showing the galaxy what humanity can be. The dinner went well. President Kwan and Queen Lyraveth discussed trade, technology sharing, and joint defense initiatives. The Kryn Collective had been testing their borders, and both Earth and the Valkyrie needed to be prepared. But there was also talk of culture, of art exchanges and student programs, of people from both worlds visiting each other, learning from each other. Saranin sat in her special seat between her parents. She was usually well-behaved at formal dinners now, but tonight she was restless. She kept reaching for Do-hyun. Finally, he picked her up. She immediately calmed down, resting her head on his shoulder. President Kwan watched with a smile. You are a natural father. I had a good teacher, Do-hyun said, thinking of his own grandmother. And this little one makes it easy, most of the time. After dinner, Do-hyun took Saranin to the nursery. Lyraveth joined them once President Kwan had been shown to her quarters. They went through their evening routine. Bath time, story time, lullaby time. Saranin loved stories. She would sit quietly, her eyes wide, as Do-hyun told tales of Earth or Lyraveth shared Valkyrie legends. Tonight she wanted the story of how Mommy and Daddy met. It had become her favorite. Once upon a time, Do-hyun began, there was a brave queen who had a tiny baby princess. The princess was very special, but she was also very sad. Nobody could make her happy. Saranin listened, even though she had heard this story many times. Then one day a man from far away came to visit. He did not have special powers like the Valkyrie. He was just a normal person. But when he heard the princess crying, he did something brave. He stepped forward to help. Lyraveth continued the story, and the man held the baby princess very gently. He hummed a beautiful song his grandmother taught him. And do you know what happened? Baby happy, Saranin said excitedly. That is right, the baby became happy, and the queen saw that this man was special in his own way. He was kind and caring and brave, so she asked him to join their family. And he said yes, Do-hyun finished, and they all lived happily ever after. Saranin clapped her hands. More story. Not tonight, little one. Lyraveth kissed her forehead. It is time for sleep. Do-hyun started humming the lullaby. The same old Korean song his grandmother taught him, the song that had started everything. Saranin's eyes grew heavy. Within minutes she was asleep. They sat together, watching her sleep. The room was quiet except for her soft breathing. "She is growing so fast," Lyraveth said softly. "Too fast," Do-hyun agreed. "Soon she will be running everywhere, getting into everything." Lyraveth laughed quietly. "I look forward to it, all of it. Her growing up, the challenges, the joys, everything." She looked at Do-hyun. "With you beside me, I can face anything. The feeling is mutual." They sat in comfortable silence. Through their bond, emotions flowed gently between them. Love, contentment, hope. Later, they stood on a balcony looking out at the stars. Earth was visible below, beautiful and blue. The Valkyrie homeworld was several light years away in another direction. Two worlds, Lyraveth said, coming together. Creating something new, Do-hyun added. They held hands, their different skin tones contrasting but fitting together perfectly. "What do you think the future holds?" Lyraveth asked. "Challenges, definitely. The Kryn won't give up easily. There will be people on both our worlds who resist change. Political complications, cultural misunderstandings. That sounds difficult." Do-hyun smiled. "But also opportunities. More schools, more friendship, more understanding. Our daughter will grow up in a galaxy where different species work together. That is worth any challenge." Lyraveth leaned against him. Her scales were warm in the cool evening air. "I never thought I would find this again. After Talvek died, I thought I was alone. That I would always be alone. You are not alone. You never will be again. Neither will you." They stood together as the stars wheeled overhead. Below them, billions of people slept. Humans on Earth, Valkyrie on their ships and colonies, and countless other species across the galaxy. The universe was vast and often challenging, but it was also full of possibility. Do-hyun thought about the journey that brought him here. A crying baby, a desperate queen, a choice that seemed impossible, but he had made that choice. He had reached across the gap between species and found connection. He had built a family from the most unlikely circumstances, and tomorrow they would wake up and do it all again, face new challenges, build new bridges, create new possibilities. Together. The word echoed in his mind, warm and certain. Together. Far below, on Earth, his mother and sister were sleeping. His friends were working on new projects. Children were learning in the joint schools. Across space, on Valkyrie ships and planets, people were looking to their queen and her human consort as symbols of a new age. And in her nursery, Princess Saranin slept peacefully, knowing she was safe and loved. This was not the end of their story. It was just the beginning. There would be more challenges, more triumphs, more quiet moments and grand adventures. But whatever came, they would face it as they faced everything now, as a family, as a symbol of hope, as proof that love and understanding could bridge any distance, overcome any difference, connect any two hearts, even if one heart belonged to a junior diplomat from Earth and the other belonged to the queen of an alien empire. Do-hyun smiled and pulled Lyraveth closer. The stars shone overhead, beautiful and endless, and somewhere in the vastness of space, new stories were beginning.